Good.
Sir, thank you, sir. And our Swamiji runs a Bhagavad, sir, daily. Whoever visits the temple, so they will have the food at the Dasav. It is on a daily basis for Swamiji runs, sir.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, we were actually, my wife and I were, there was a plan in January.
Sir.
We wanted to come to Belgaum and use that as a base, because long time back, I'm talking about many decades ago, when my wife was a little girl, her father was posted there, and she spent 4 years in Belgaum. So she wanted to go back. So we were going to go there and then go to Kolhapur and all these places, but
Please
it never happened.
We'll make arrangement for your stay and all. You can please do.
So maybe next year we'll see.
Yeah, please, sir. Please, you are most welcome to visit our institute, sir, and
thank you.
Enjoy our hospitality.
Thank you. Thank you.
In fact, you love to meet our Swamiji, sir.
I'd be very happy to do that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's a very pleasant, personality, and he also love to meet you, sir, because you are so vastly experienced, a very good researcher, and all doing all wonderful work, sir, in the various fields.
I don't know. I try my best. So let me know whenever you want to start. Is fine with me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just another couple of minutes, sir. Once the strength reaches around 100, we shall start.
Okay.
Another couple of minutes, sir.
No problem.
Sir.
Dr. Mukund, while people join, could you please enlighten us about the work of Tara Prakashana, your vision, and how actually you are trying to create some sort of a repository for the future generations? So why don't you tell us about Tara Prakashana, sir?
Sure. Happy to do that. Basically, it's a non-profit trust, and it is based in Bangalore. It's registered in Bangalore. And the whole purpose, officially, it was started in 2006, I think. Yeah, 2006. So it's been running for 14 years now officially. But before that, even before registration, I was doing this work for a while. So there are 4 or 5 trustees, and so our goal basically is to make sure that, just in general, in a very broad sense, I'll explain that when I start my talk, but the Vedic knowledge, see, every time we use that word, people always think of some religion, and they think of temples, and I'm not talking about those things at all. There's a lot of very, very scientific knowledge that is, our people left for us for thousands of years. It's not one person, it's not any one entity. It's a collective wisdom that has been acquired for many, many thousands of years. Unfortunately, in the last 1 or 2 centuries, a lot of that has been lost. Well, it's either lost or is in the process of being lost. One side of that is that all over the country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, wherever you go, you can go to Tamil Nadu, you can go to Karnataka, wherever, even Kashmir, everywhere. A lot of our knowledge is actually in the form of what we call talagari. I don't know, some of you may know Kannada, palm leaf. It's in dried palm leaf. And these things sometimes are 700, 800 years old, and we are losing that. The biggest collection the British took away, it's actually in the Oxford University Library. And Germany has taken away a lot of things, and we are not paying any attention to it at all. The second point is that when you look at these manuscripts, because of the age, when something is like 400, 500, 600 years old, what happens? The ink goes away, fades away, and the leaf itself becomes very brittle. So it's very difficult to read these things. So we have come up with a technology. I don't want to bore you with the details, but we have come up with a technology called multispectral imaging. There are 14 of these systems in the world. In India, we have the only one. And the beauty of it is, again, if I start describing to you the technology, it will take time, so I won't do that. But using that, we can actually extract images of manuscripts that are totally unreadable. So we are creating a Vedic library. We're in the process of actually building that. Building is going to start very soon. We acquired a land 4 or 5 months ago. And so far we have saved about 5,000 manuscripts. It's ongoing work. We operate in a rented building in Bangalore right now. And there are, people working on it every day. And on the preservation side, that's what we do. On the dissemination side, through Tara Prakashana, I give workshops like what I'm going to do today. I give talks. There are a lot of my videos on YouTube and all that. We have nothing to sell. We don't ask anybody for any money. We just do it because I believe it's the right thing to do and it benefits people.
Thank you for a brief introduction. Dr. Ravi, I think it's time. It's 5:40. Yes. Let's start the proceedings, please.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. Good evening, one and all. And first and foremost, I would like to welcome the resource person, Dr. P.R. Mukund, to this webinar. First, before welcoming, I would like to introduce Dr. P.R. Mukund to the participants. Dr. P.R. Mukund is an educator, researcher, and entrepreneur. He's a professor of electrical engineering at Rochester Institute of Technology, Rochester, New York. He is a IEEE distinguished lecturer and past general chair. He is a IEEE SOS member. His IEEE specialties includes analog and RF IC design. Dr. Mukund received his BS, MS, and PhD in electrical engineering from University of Tennessee, Knoxville. He has many dozens of refereed journal papers. He has brought in more than $2 million research funding to the Rochester Institute of Technology. He is also keen student and teacher of Vedic way of life. His specialty in connecting worlds of modern science and ancient spirituality in an easy to understand manner for students and anyone aspiring to learn. I wish to mention the few accomplishments of Dr. Mukund. It includes he and his team of image scientists have patented a unique technology, wafer flake, which allows people to preserve very old manuscripts using multispectral image processing. He has worked with Oxford University to ensure preservation and digitization of the world's oldest known manuscript of sacred Bhagavad Gita. Dr. Mukund and his team at Tara Prakashana have already saved more than 3,000 ancient Indian manuscripts using the above technology. He has authored several unique books to teach aspects of Vedic philosophy in an easy to understand manner, including Bananje a Rishi revealed about unique role played by a guru and Descartes about the success traits for any field extracted from Vedic wisdom. Dr. Mukund has performed many workshops worldwide teaching about Vedic science in an easy to understand manner, which has inspired thousands of youngsters worldwide. His work has been reported worldwide, including BBC, CNN, MSN BC. So on behalf of Keshwara Mahaswamiji, Siddha Samasthan Math Nirsosi, and on behalf of our principal Dr. S.C. Kamite, and also on behalf of our all colleagues, I welcome Dr. Mokund. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
And also, I welcome my good friend, Shri Nagan Gowda S. Jakan Gowda, Vice President, Human Resource, Global Health Software Limited, Bengaluru. On behalf of Swamiji, our Principal Dr. S.C. Kamite, on behalf of HSIT, I welcome Shri Nagan Gowda S. Jakan Gowda. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Thank you for the nice welcome. Now, over to Dr. Mukund for the session. Dr. Mukund, are you able to see these slides?
Actually, hold on 1 second. Actually, I see, I used to see, but I cannot see it anymore. It was there, and then, yeah, I think it's coming back. Yes.
Lovely. So we are good to go, sir.
The problem, Nagan, is, yeah, there. Perfect. Yeah, that's good. So thank you very much. I really want to first offer my respects to Swamiji, who is the person behind your institution. And I say that not just as a formality, but I actually mean that when I say that, because people often don't understand or appreciate the role that spiritual energy plays in not just in our own personal lives, but in institutions also. That energy is what drives things towards success. So having said that, I also want to thank the management and the leadership of your college for giving me this opportunity. And so we'll spend 45 minutes to an hour, if that's okay. I just want to give you a little bit of background about this particular topic, because I talk about a lot of things related to Vedic science and how it affects, how it can be used. See, the problem is that, and it is a problem, is that when you take anything, it doesn't matter what it is, right? It could be medicine, it could be engineering, or any subject, you name it. Those of us who spend decades and decades learning a particular topic and getting somewhat good at it know that I used to make a joke that when I got my undergraduate degree, my field is electronics. When I got my undergraduate degree, I thought I was, I knew everything. When I got my master's degree, I realized that there are some things I don't know. When I got my PhD, I realized I don't know anything. So, and the reason I say that is every topic, every subject is so vast and it is so deep that it is almost like a bottomless pit. The question is, you can never really know everything about any topic, right? And one of the problems that people do is that, for example, let's say somebody wants to get in your college, wants to get a degree in engineering. They spend 4 years, 5 years, I don't know how much it is, 4 years, I suppose. So they realize that they have to do the high school, pre-university, then they come to college, do the engineering, and even then they go on for, some of them go for higher studies and so on. They realize that it takes a lot of effort, it takes time, it takes teachers to actually learn anything. However, when it comes to what I refer to as adhyatma, spirituality, some of people think that, oh, why don't you explain it to me? Why don't you tell me what it is? And if you cannot tell me and I cannot understand it like right now, it's not scientific. That, trust me, I'm a trained person in technology and engineering. And I would be very stupid to make a statement like that. So the more abstract a topic is, the more time it takes, right? So let's start with the word Vedic. That's sort of like a English. I would like to call it Vaidika. If you look at Vaidika Jnana or Vaidika Sampradayam, then that Vaidika, that Veda, what does that word mean to start with? Before we even go any further, we need to understand that, right? Nagan, can you go to the next slide, please? So the question is, and I put that Vedic in italics because that is what people in the West call it. Actually, we should call it Vedika. So anyway, so if you look at the Veda, what exactly is Veda? Everybody says, oh, there's Rig Veda, there's Yajur Veda, there's Sam Veda.
Green tea. No, green tea. Everybody has green tea.
I hear people talking. Can you please mute? The question is, what exactly is Veda? Well, it's not about any specific text. In reality, people say that Veda has always been there. They say Apaurashaya, that is not no person did that. And what they mean by that is the collection of truth, whatever it may be, in any topic, any subject, right? There are some things that are true. It has always been true and it will always be true. I don't think anybody can deny that some things are always true. It was true before, it will true. It's true now and it will be true in the future also, right? The collection of all those truths is what is normally referred to as Veda. Now, there are, Vedavyasa gave it to us 5,000 years ago in different forms, in poetic form, prose form, and all that. And we gave different names to that. But in reality, that is Veda. So when we talk of Vedika Sampradaya, that's what here in this slide I call Vedic tradition. What I have done in this specific thing is I've taken a very narrow topic, because everybody talks about success, right? Everybody wants to be successful. I don't know a single person who says, I want to be a failure in life, right? Everybody wants to be successful. The question comes up as to what exactly is success, like if I want to, when I suspect that most of you are much, much younger than me, but my question is that when you get to my age, you look back at your life and you say, was I successful or not? Do I have a feeling of success? And in some cases, I have found that people did exceedingly well professionally. They went, they did amazing things. And, I'll give you one little example, right? Somebody I know, I won't, obviously it's a public forum, so I cannot mention too many details, but this individual is a professor in a very, very well-known university in the United States. He is an extremely accomplished professor, extremely, he is one of the most famous professors. Those of you in engineering, if I say any more detail, you know exactly who I'm talking about. He's a friend of mine. And he was awarded, IEEE is our professional society, and every year, sometimes they give what they call the gold medal. That is somebody has done so much work, contributed so much. It's called the IEEE medal. That is the highest honor you can get from IEEE. This friend of mine, this person got it several years ago, about 14, 15 years ago. I was sitting with him in the banquet right next to him when it was awarded. So when he was given, he went up to the stage, got the thing, and he looked kind of sad. He didn't look very excited about it. He took the thing and said, thank you very much, and all that, came back and sat down. So I asked him, I said, why are you not, most people will be highly excited about this because you got the highest award in engineering, in the world, and you don't seem very excited. And then he told me certain things about his personal life, which made all this pointless. And he didn't really care about it. He told me, he said, I don't really care about this. They gave it to me, I'm taking it, but I wish my life was different. So the point I'm trying to make is that success is a multi-dimensional thing. It's not just one thing. It's not just profession or money or health or anything, right? So the way in the Vedika Sampradaya, the success has been defined is we use this symbol. Symbolism plays a huge part, huge part. Numerology and symbolism plays a huge part in Vedika Sampradaya. And this chakra, this concept of a chakra has been used, matter of fact, as you know, it's right in the middle of the national flag of India, right? This chakra. So the question is, why did we put it there? You know, what is the goal? You know, it's not just to represent Buddhism or something like that's what some people say. The fact is that this actually represents what all of us need in our personal lives, every single person, right? There's nothing to do with religion or anything like that. And let me explain to you at a start what this is all about before we even go talk about how to get a success. You see, the thing is that if you look at a wheel, right? Oh, my slide went away. I hope you can still see that. Okay, so anyway, if you look at the wheel, the thing is that there are three components to this wheel, right? Three main components for any wheel to work. Why do we use a wheel? The reason we use a wheel in any vehicle, in a scooter or motorbike or car or whatever, is because with the same amount of energy you can go farther. That's why, right? And all of us want to go very far in life, right? All of us want to go very far in life. Now, question is, if we want in a given amount of time, whatever time we have, 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years, whatever it is, right? That in the time period, given a finite amount of energy, time, resources, and so on, how far can I go? And a lot of people think that, oh, it's just a function of smartness and intelligence. It's not. I know very intelligent people, very, very intelligent people who did not go very far. Then I know ordinary people like me who managed to do a lot of things in life, right? So the question is, what's going on here, right? And the reason is that if you look at the wheel, there are three components to that. The first thing is, you see that there are a lot of spokes, right? You cannot have a wheel with just one spoke or two, because that's not going to be a good wheel. You need multiple things. So the first thing is that in my own life, when I define success, I have to look at, it's my definition. Nobody else can tell me what it is, right? I have to decide what are all the multiple things in my life that are important to me. If you take a bunch of spokes, those of you who know Kannada, kaddi, right? Those sticks. So if you take a bunch of those things and put it somewhere, they're not connected to each other, that doesn't form a wheel. So similarly in my life, I cannot take a whole bunch of things and they're all disconnected. I'm not going to go very far in my life if things are disconnected, right? So the first thing that has to happen is that all of those things will have to be connected to the axle at the center, right? Something steady in the middle that does not change. The wheel turns, but the axle has to be very steady. So the first question I have to ask, can you please request everybody to mute so that...
Sir, slide is not visible.
Oh. Can you see it now?
No, sir.
Nagan, no? Nagan, can you please take a look at... There. I see it. Do you see it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can go ahead, sir, please.
Okay. Okay. So the thing is that for the first question I have to ask myself is, what is that one driving principle in my life? Just one thing that everything I do in life, no matter what, it could be family, it could be profession, it could be dharma or something I do for society, whatever, are they all connected to one principle, one core value in my heart that drives everything? If that is not there, trust me, I don't care what you do, right? At the end of the day, you won't go very far. You look at any successful person, and I'm sure that there are people in your own organization who are very, very successful, right? you basically ask them, do you have one core value that drives everything you do, whatever it is, right? And usually you'll find that the answer is yes. They have one core value to which everything is connected. So I have to ask myself too, what is that thing? And I have to answer that question for myself before I go any further, right? And then look at all these different things that are connected to that. And not just that, the third component in the wheel is that outer rim that collects, that thing in the brown color there, the outer rim that connects all the spokes. That's what makes a wheel, right? So if I want to be successful, everything that I do has to be not only connected to this core value at the center, but even the outcome. The outcome also, they should all be connected to each other. For example, you may ask, if I give a seminar to some college in Belgavi, how does that affect my grandchildren? You may say there's no connection. Well, actually there is a connection. The question is, do I know what that connection is? And do I connect it all these dots together? Because if I do that, then at the end of it, you have a win, right? Even if I don't present anything else today, right? Just this one concept, if you can think about it, right? Just think about it and see if it makes sense to you. Just because I say something, you should not believe it, right? You think for yourself and see if it makes sense to you. And if it does, it's worth spending a little bit of time and figuring out what these things are in your own life, right? And once you do that, because otherwise, what happens? Other people will tell you what is success. And unfortunately, what happens is that that's a moving target. At different times, people tell you different things as to what is success, right? And you just keep following that. And after 50 years, whatever, you look back and say, what the heck happened in my life, And you cannot allow outside forces, society, to dictate what is success. You have to figure out what is success for you, right? And I think, and I'll just give you my own little example, is that the thing that drives me at the center, the one core value, is simply this. It's very simple, actually. I want my life, I want it to be of as much use to other people in society as possible. That's all. Plain and simple, that's it. So then I have to look at different things and say, how do I make that happen? Like, how can I be of service to you? I may not even know who you are, but how can I help you? Is there some way I can do something to make your life a little better? In any way at all. Now, if I can, trust me, those things that will drive everything I do. I may be teaching somebody how to design a chip. I may be doing a seminar. I may be doing something else. At the end of the day, it's about other people, not me. Nagan, next slide, please. So in order for us for that to happen, again, going back to symbolism, again, please, I want to request you to, when you look at some of these symbols, don't think I'm talking about religion, because I'm not. I just want to make it very, very clear. Even though in the what is today called quote unquote Hindu tradition, these symbols are used because our way of life is basically based on Vedic Sampradaya, that's what that region, it has nothing to do, you can follow whatever religion you want, but that wisdom has been represented in symbols. So two things that have been used is Shankha and Chakra, right? Now, Dharma is represented by Chakra, and Artha, this is resources, is represented by Shankha. The important thing is we need to, all of us have some resources, right? Whatever it may be. It may be our intelligence, it may be our training, it may be money, it may be energy, it may be time, whatever, right? All of us are blessed with some resources, and that can change with time. At different points in our lives, we have different types of resources, different amounts of resources. The question is dharma. What we call dharma is basically, like I said before, is energy coming out of me into society, not absorbing society's energy. I always tell my shishyas, using electrical engineering analogy, I say, be a current source, not a current sink. Like for me to be happy, it should not be necessary for 25 people to do various things just to keep me happy. I should be happy by myself, and I should be putting out energy into the society, positive energy into society, so that other people feel good, right? So that is dharma. When energy is coming out of you, positive energy is coming out of you to society, not expecting anything, is just my life, that's the way I am. So when that becomes my way of life, and I balance that, I use my resources. Some of it I'm going to use it for my own personal use, nothing wrong with that. But I also use some of it for this, what we call dharma, which is basically doing things for other people so that for their good. So when that balance is there, you find after a long time that you actually can go very, very far. Next slide, please. Nagan, can you go to the next slide? So this particular, what I call Deca trait, is actually extracted from mainly Ramayana. This, like I said, this is a very narrow thing, and it is called Dashapramati or Dashaprameya. What that means in some sense, 10 traits. And Hanuman is supposed to have had that in total, totally. Now, forget about, if you don't want to think about Hanuman and Ramayana, that's all fine. But if you just look at these 10 traits, right, it actually helps us. It has helped me. It has helped a lot of my students and so on in accomplishing things which we ourselves are surprised sometimes. As how did that happen? So it is a working. I know it works, and I would like to spend. I cannot spend a whole lot of time. It's sort of half the time is up already, but I'll spend 2-3 minutes explaining each of those things to you. And what I have done, that Dashaprameya, see, the moment you use Sanskrit words, people stop listening, unfortunately, in our country. So I translate that to English. Dasha is 10. So that is Deca. Prameya is trait. So I just called it Deca trait. So just something in random in English. And the mapping to English is not very good because every language, by the way, is a abhivyakta, that is outward manifestation of a way of life. So English is a Western language and Sanskrita is an Eastern language. So the mapping is never perfect, but since that's the language we are using, we'll try our best. Naga, next slide, please. So let's start with trait number 1. At the root cause of everything is knowledge. Knowledge, a lot of times unfortunately, we mistake information for knowledge. For example, just this morning, I saw somebody sent me a piece of information that said that in Europe, the European Institute of Cardiology has released a statement yesterday or something like that, where they said that normal blood pressure is 140. All these days, there's 130. It was above 130. People give you medicine. Doctors say, take this medicine. Now suddenly change it to 140, right? So that is not knowledge, right? So knowledge, when you look at jnana, that's the right word to use. When you look at jnana in our sampradaya, they say that there are 3 types of jnana. One is referred to as yathartha jnana. The second is called viparita jnana, and the third one is called ajnana. So when we learn something, we have to classify, we have to look at this and say, if I'm going to spend next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, right? For example, in my own field of electronics, the things I learned when I was in college 4 decades ago is no longer valid, right? Things keep changing. Every 2-3 years, technology changes. This last research project I did, we were using a transistor called FinFET. That's only 11 nanometers. When I started in this profession, we were using things on a printed circuit board, building circuits in a big way. So things change over time, right? So we don't want to get confused with, so if you say, is that yathartha jnana? Well, in a way it is, because that allows me to have a job and make some money, make a life and all that. That's all fine. But yathartha jnana are those things that are resourceful for you in everything you do, not just in one specific thing, right? So if I spend some time on acquiring that knowledge, which helps me in every single aspect of my life, obviously that is going to be very, very useful. And that is actually the basis. The second type of jnana, a lot of times we spend a lot of time and energy on this, which we call viparita jnana. That is incorrect, either incorrect or unproductive knowledge. For example, people spend a lot of time right now, as you know, this virus thing is going around and, creating havoc in the world. So people sit there and keep on reading some WhatsApp messages or some random things about the virus. How many people died in Australia or something. Look, that's not going to help me in any way at all. It's totally unproductive, right? So if I keep acquiring information or perhaps even knowledge that is of no use to me, it's either incorrect, like I told you this example of the blood pressure thing. If the doctors themselves keep changing that definition, how can it be correct, right? So it can be incorrect or unproductive. And that viparita jnana is something that it's a waste of time, basically. But the most dangerous thing is not that. That's not the most dangerous. It's a waste of time, but it's not dangerous. What is actually dangerous is what we refer to as ajnana. Ajnana is not lack of knowledge, but the opposite of yathartha jnana. So just like yathartha jnana can take you upwards, not physically, but you know what I mean. Just take us upwards in a spiritual way, so to speak, right? Ajnana is something that actually takes you downwards. It's like black and white, right? Black is also a color. Black is not the absence of white. Black is a color in itself. It absorbs energy. White is a color, black is a color, right? Lack of light is not darkness. Darkness is darkness. It is something that takes you downwards, right? So ajnana is something to watch out for, because that is something that can actually pull you down. So when we look at jnana, which is the basis, that is the basis of success in life, right? I have to have knowledge. Without correct knowledge, nothing else is going to happen. Next slide, please. The second trait is what they call bhakti, and unfortunately, a lot of times people translate that to English as devotion. It's not like going to some temple or something. That's not the kind of bhakti I'm talking about. Bhakti is actually, it's not emotion, but it is reverence and passion, right? So if I find something, it could be anything. If I find something and that thing is so amazing knowledge-wise, it's so amazing that it's not because of any job or money or anything. I'm just passionate about that, whatever it is, right? If I become passionate, and why will I become passionate? I become passionate because I hold it in such high esteem. When you combine that reverence with passion, that is what we refer to as bhakti. And that basically comes from trait number 1, which is jnana. Next slide. So the third trait that we all need to develop is what we call vairagya. And again, all these things have been mistranslated or misinterpreted, unfortunately. The moment I use that word, people think that you have to put on some saffron clothes and run away to Himalayas or something like that. No, we are not talking about any such thing at all. What we are talking about here is the ability for me to be attached to things, whatever I do. It could be my job or whatever, my friends or relatives, whatever it is, right? My ability to be attached, but at the same time detached. You say, what do you mean by that? You're contradicting yourself. Should you be attached or detached? The answer is both. For example, if I hold my hands together like this, right? Like when we do namaste and all, we put our hands together, right? I can take these hands apart anytime I want. You cannot do that if you put glue here and put the hands together, right? It gets stuck. So that hamsa, we use that, I lost my slide. Okay.
Sir, once again you presented, sir. Nagan, sir.
Okay. Huh? Okay, I don't know. It just went away. My slides went away in my screen. But anyhow, that's fine. What was I talking about? Yeah, Vairagya. So, yeah, thank you. It's back. The ability, like we use the symbol of Hamsa because, some of you might have heard of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The people who say Paramahamsa, like he's great Hamsa. So, what do you mean by Hamsa? He's not a swan, he's a human being, right? The reason we use that symbol is because a swan, even though it swims in water, the water never actually makes it wet. And the reason for that, it's got a very thin layer of oil. That's how nature made it, right? And because of that, it never actually gets wet, even though it's in water all the time. So similarly, they tell us that be involved, be attached in a way, but never let it become a part of you. So when it's not a part of you, but yet it's in contact, that is what we refer to as Vairagya. And that actually, the third trait is very important, because what happens is that sometimes we have obsession with something, it can be a person, it can be an idea, it can be something else. So when obsession takes over, we start losing our mind, we start becoming crazy people, and we start doing some very strange things, which of course none of us want to do. And the thing that allows us to do that, for example, if I can use this example of the same workshop, yeah, I like to do these things. I'd like to share whatever little I know with other people if it's helpful to them. But I cannot get attached to this and say, so as soon as this thing is over, I shouldn't send an email to Mr. Nagan Gowda and say, oh, did people like it? Was it okay? Did I do a good job? And there's no attachment. It's over, right? So we should not get overly attached to anything that we do. It doesn't matter what it is, right? And that Vairagya, that slight detachment in everything that we do is a very, very good trait, because you see successful people are very calm people. They don't get excited, no matter what, right? And then what allows them to be very calm is this slight detachment. Can I go to next slide, please? Prajna, awareness. See, the thing is that, what happens to most of us, and this actually, unfortunately, it's true. For most of us, people come and tell us various things, all kinds of random people, even when you don't ask them, they'll come up to you and tell you, are you good looking? Are you smart? Are you rich? Whatever, are you successful? Are you likable? And all these things, right? So my definition of myself cannot be just a reflection of what other people are telling me, right? I need to have my own awareness inside. So this is what we call tapas, like deep thinking. So when I think deeply about things, what happens is basically this. Not only am I aware of myself, which is very important, by the way, not defined by other people, but discovered by myself as to who I am. And you'll be amazed at how much relief it is when you do that, because you get tired of other people telling you constantly from morning till night all the faults that you have. And usually people tell you faults, right, more than telling you the good things. They're always coming and telling you, you did this, you did that, this is wrong. And you let that define who you are. After some time, you may start thinking that you're a terrible person, or something wrong with me. In reality, that may not be true at all. And I need to think, maybe there is something wrong with me, and maybe I need to fix myself. But that should come from within, not from outside. So that awareness of my surroundings, awareness of what is inside, and awareness of my surroundings is very, very important. That Prajna Shakti is very important. When you do that, you can walk into a meeting, for example. Let's say there's a meeting, you walk in, nobody has said a word. Nobody has said anything, right? You just sit down and just look around. Just quietly, calmly look around. If Prajna Shakti is there, you'll be amazed at how much you know what these people are bringing to the table, right? And it helps you a lot in how you respond to various things that's going to happen. That is what we call prajna shakti. By the way, I'm doing a very quick thing because I don't have time, and some of these things may actually raise questions, and you can send me email or something. I'll try to answer, but because of lack of time, I'm giving a very brief, explanation of these things. Can we go to the next slide, please? So the trait number 5 is what we call Medha Shakti, and Medha Shakti is some people just call it memory power. To describe that in a slightly different way, it's not just memory power. Basically, what it is that all of us have to take decisions, right? Every day we take so many decisions. We take every day, no matter what it is, right? So we have to come to a conclusion, we have to take a decision and so on. The question is, how do you do that? Based on what? Well, it turns out that all of us have a lot of experiences, right? Even in this life, and even from previous lives, if you believe in that, right? This is all stored in what we call chitta. It's all there. Everything is there. And for some of you who may be computer science or computer related people, the best way to think of it is like a stack, like a last in, what they call last in first out stack. So you keep pushing things from the top, and the other things keep on going to the bottom, right? So what happens is that all this experience, all these conclusions that we have, it's all stored there inside. The question is this, right? Like I said, it's the last first out stack, which means that my last experience is, whatever it may be, is the one that is the most obvious to me. But Medha Shakti is my ability. Again, if you use the stack example, it's like having a pointer. That pointer should be able to move up and down the stack and point to the right thing in real time. So every single time I have to take a decision, no matter what it is, right? If I have that ability to go dig up that particular useful knowledge that I have, not somebody else's telling me, what I have, that ability to have that pointer inside me in my stack, which I call chitta, in my experiences, and in real time being able to extract that so that I can take the decision I need to take, is what we call Medha Shakti. So again, those of you who are Kannada speaking people, you may look at somebody and say that in Kannada we say that, look at somebody and say, oh, tumba medhavigalappa. What we mean by that is that this person has tremendous Medha Shakti, which means that this person has the ability to extract something from his or her experience base in real time, as and when needed. That is called Medha Shakti. Nagan, next slide. Okay, so again, confidence is not a very good translation for what you call dhriti. Basically, everybody tells you, have a lot of self-confidence. You should be a confident person. Exhibit confidence. Whether it's in a job or you go for an interview or wherever. Taking an exam if you're a student, whatever. You say, make sure that you have self-confidence. Be confident. Well, not that it's bad. It's a good thing to do. But dhriti is not so much about that. It's more a confidence in the universe more than me. So what that means is that if I have the confidence that no matter what, right, irrespective of anything, eventually, whatever I do, the right things will happen. It will happen. Because why? You say, why? How do you know that? How do you know it will happen? Well, because if there's universal intelligence, either the universe is has no intelligence or it has intelligence. You can use whatever word you can say, God, whatever. The fundamental thing is this: is there a universal intelligence that is keeping track of everything happening or not? If you think it's not, then I have to say, okay, everything is random. That's when you say, oh, a luck is needed. I don't believe in luck. I don't even know what that means, right? Because luck implies randomness. And I don't believe that anything is random. That's what I believe. You don't have to believe that. You can believe in luck if you want, but I don't believe in luck. I think that there's a universal intelligence and it's keeping track, and the right things will happen, right? It shall happen, it will happen at the right time. I may not know what that right time is, and I may not even know what the right thing is, but the right thing will happen at the right time. That confidence is what we call dhriti. Nagan. And the next state is what we call sthiti. See, what happens is that for a lot of us, we waste a lot of time actually. Because what happens is we start doing something and, we spend 1 year, 2 years, whatever. And after we start doubting ourselves and saying, should I really be doing this? Is this the right thing I'm doing? For example, look at your engineering college, right? What I find strange is that people go into mechanical engineering, they go into electrical or whatever, and they finish that, and instead of doing mechanical or whatever based on salary or whatever, they'll go into some random IT or something like that. I had a student who is a very, very successful professional. He got his PhD with me in 2006. So he's been working for 14 years and he's very successful. What happened to him is he's from India and he finished his BE, did very well, matter of fact. He got distinction and all that, did very well. And the first thing that happened to him was he got a job in Infosys in Bangalore. So he went to Infosys and asked him to do some random IT type thing. This guy had studied electronics and he liked it, right? So for 2 years he kept doing that. He was doing fine in that job. He was a smart guy. He was doing fine. He was being paid well and all that. But after 2 years, he came to meet me when I was visiting Bangalore one year in 2000 or 2001, and he told me, he said, "Sir, I don't know. I started out in electronics. I thought I liked electronics, but somehow I ended up doing some stupid IT thing. I'm fine, but it's still I'm making good money, but this is not what I started out doing, right? How can I come back into what I really like, right?" So we cannot doubt. See, the time to ask questions is before you start something, not while doing something. For example, that picture there of that fellow climbing that mountain, right? Imagine if he kept looking back, what will happen to him? Just think about that. He has to climb that mountain. He can fall, right? If he's not careful, he can fall. So where should his focus be? His focus should be where he's putting the next step. And his focus should be what is above him, not below him, right? So conviction, sthiti, is our ability not to look backwards. Whatever it is, man, you've taken the decision, move on, okay? You have to change your path, change the path, that's fine. But don't look back and start doubting the decision you took before you started doing something. If you keep, otherwise, if that sthiti is not there, that conviction is not there, you constantly keep changing. Every time some small thing happens, you say, forget about this, let me go somewhere else. Let me do something else. That sthiti, for it to be, our ability to stick with something through good times and bad times is an essential component of success. Nagan? If you do all these things, what do you get? So now these last three things are things that happen. You don't have to do anything. So if I focus on those other 7 things, 8, 9, and 10 will just happen on its own, right? You don't have to try at all. And the first thing I get is yoga, balance. Yoga is not yogasana. In this context, we're talking about balance. So what happens is that you get balance, not just physical, but you look at everything that happens and you get balance mentally and spiritually also. That balance is very important, very, very important, because if any of us think that only good things should happen to me, okay, how can that be, man? How is that even possible, right? There'll be some things I like, some things I don't like, right? They're both going to happen in life. And the ability to maintain my balance, physical, mental, and spiritual, it will happen on its own. You don't even have to try if you develop those other 7 traits. That's the first thing that happens. Next slide, Nagan. And what we refer to as prana shakti, vitality is again a bad translation for that. You know that energy is what is needed for, see, prana, what we call prana shakti is chalana shakti. That is for things being able to move, you know. It's like petrol in a car, right? A car can be beautiful, but if there's no petrol, it's not going to go very far. So similarly, for us in life, all these ideas and all that is great, you know. A lot of us come up with, we think, fantastic ideas. But then what happens? After 10 years, 20 years, nothing much happens, isn't it? And the reason for that energy, that prana shakti is not there. And that prana shakti, that energy should be there with you even when you get to my age, right? Because if the energy is not there, how are you going to drive? When it's late in the day, you should be as energetic at end of the day as you were at the beginning of the day, right? That vitality, that energy that drives that motion is what we call prana shakti. And that prana shakti, you know, if you look at our way of looking at things, the human sharira, the human body, we divide it into 5 layers. We call Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha. Then there are 2 more Vijnana and Anandamaya Koshas. But if you look at the first 3, the thing is like a sandwich, right? A sandwich is good, not just if the bread is good on the 2 sides. The bread also should be good. You cannot take bad bread. But the important thing is what is in the middle, right? Similarly, if you look at these 3 layers, like in a sandwich, the physical layer and the mental layer, those 2 things, Annamaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha is what we call in Samskrita. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about Samskrita. The physical layer and the mental layer, right? They should be good. The question is, how will they be good? How can it be good? It can be good if the thing in the middle is strong and good. And that is what we call prana shakti. Last one. And all of this will give you bala. What bala? Strength, right? What kind of strength? After all, you know how much time we spend exercising and eating good food and all that to have physical strength? How many people do diet for the mind? You know, say, eat this, don't eat this, eat millets. Man, my father, grandfather, and his father, everybody have been eating rice for thousands of years, and suddenly they tell me, don't eat rice, eat some millet. I say, what the hell? You know, our people have been eating this thing, right? So, but we put so much effort into making sure that we eat the right things. We make sure that we exercise and all that. But how about your mind? Are you doing diet for the mind? Are you exercising for the mind? So that the mind also can be strong. And how about your spirit? Can I just feed all kinds of crap to my mind? And it's like eating potato chips all day long for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I cannot expect to be strong, right? So a free mind that can overcome any storm in life, no matter what happens. And stuff, trust me, will happen. You cannot just break down, right? So for me to be strong, so that I can face any difficulty in life and still come out successful, it requires strength. And that strength is not just physical, mental, and spiritual. And the last bullet in the slide, it says success always breeds success. You know, you cannot expect a monkey to have a donkey as a kid, right? So a monkey will have a monkey, a donkey will have a donkey. Similarly, success will breed success always, always, right? And when we want, the little successes will become big successes because they grow, just like people, right? Just like people, you're a little kid, you know, you're walking around trying to stand and all these things. Someday you may be Olympic star running a marathon, right? So it takes process, you know, it takes a process, that growing up process, right? So that's fine, nothing wrong with that. But it's only success that will lead to success. So if we develop these traits, what you'll find, you'll start noticing success in small things, you know, very small things. Like if you're a student, for example, you're taking an exam, you just want to take an exam and do well in the exam. That's a small success, right? Very small success. So if you taste that success, that becomes, you cannot get away from that, right? Because success is very tasty, and you want more success. And you want balanced success, not in one direction, in every way. I want my health to be good. I want my family to be good. I want my children, my grandchildren, everybody. I want everything to be good. I want to be a happy person. I want to have enough money to live. All these things, right? A very balanced success is what you will get at the end. None of this is my theory. I just have to give credit where it is due. I did not come up with it. All I did was I took this, because how many of you have heard of this Dashapramati? I seriously doubt maybe 10%, if at all, 10% of you might have heard of it. Even that, I'd be very excited if 10% of you had heard of that. But the fact is that these things are there. All I did was take that, map it, teach it. I'm a teacher by profession. So I present things in an easy to understand manner. That's what I'm supposed to do. I have mapped it into a different language, used different words. That's all I did. All the credit goes to my Guru Parampara, and the tradition that we all come from in that land. And thank you very much. I've run over maybe 3 minutes. I apologize for that. And if you want to know more such things, please visit our website. I'm not trying to, trust me, I'm not trying to sell you anything, okay? I have nothing to sell. But if you're interested, if you find it useful, there are a lot more things available, like videos, all kinds of things, which is from, it's in, go look at taraprakashana.org. You'll find a lot of things there if you're interested. Yeah. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Particularly not only the management of the leadership of your college, but I also want to thank Nagan Gowda for taking so much interest in these things and making all these things happen. So have a good day, and maybe someday I'll visit Belgavi. If I do, I'll come and visit your college.
Sir, we have a few questions. Sir, we have a few questions for you, sir, to answer.
Okay.
Jasmine K, she is asking, is Vairagya is connected with we should or should not be workaholic?
Workaholic? I don't know what exactly that means. See, the thing is this, workaholic, at least the way I understand it, is just doing one thing for majority of the time. At least that's the way I look at it. I don't know if that's what she means by that. Look, the thing is, it's not so much how long you do something, but it's like, if I can use an engineering example, if you don't mind, like if you take an amplifier, you say, is this a good amplifier or a bad amplifier? It's not so much, there are two things there. One is gain, the other is bandwidth. So you have to look at the product of gain and bandwidth to see how good an amplifier it is. Similarly, when I do work, whatever it might be, I'm interested in not just the amount of time I spend, but what the outcome is, right? So if I know what the heck I'm doing, then you can be very, very productive in a relatively short amount of time. That's true. I speak from experience because I do so many things, right? So you spend a little bit of time, and in the time, for example, you do this, you're done, move on. Don't waste time on that. So I don't know if you, like if you're talking about spending long amounts of time on your job or something like that, my answer is I don't do that. I've been a very successful professional, but I don't do that. I spend some time and I devote certain amount of time. But when I do that, I focus. I totally focus on what I'm doing. I don't let other things. Many years ago, one of my boss, I was in industry at that time, my boss told me one thing which really freaked me out because I was very young at that time. I was 30, 31 something. He told me, he said, you know one problem with you, with Indians? So I said, well, I didn't know Indians had a problem, but anyway, I guess you are going to tell me what is it. So he said, the problem with Indians is that when they come to work, they're thinking about family at work. And when they go home, they're thinking about work. So he said, when you're at work, think about work. When you're with family, think about family. Okay, don't get confused. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I don't do that. So the thing is that focus, if you focus on what you're doing, you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish in a very short amount of time. So my short answer, well, I guess that's a long answer, is that workaholic is not even needed to do what you have to do.
Sir, one more question. Nikhila Anand, she's asking, please share more light on how to ensure outcomes are connected in the wheel of success.
So outcome in that, I don't know if you're talking about that symbol of the wheel. The thing is that how far, like if the wheel takes one turn, how far have you traveled, right? So the distance that you travel, as you know, I'm talking about the wheel analogy, is based on two things: the speed at which it turns, right, and the size of the wheel. So the thing is that these spokes that I talk about, right? So in my mind, if all the different aspects of my life are very long, in the sense that my goal is very big, that's like a big wheel, right? So even if it takes us one turn, somewhat slowly, it will go very far. On the other hand, if the wheel is pretty small, but you turn it very fast, it'll also. So the thing is that what drives that? Well, the energy is what will make it go faster or slower. So it's a two-part thing. One is the energy part, which will make it go as fast as possible. The other thing is big, right? So a lot of times our goals are very small and shallow, you know. We just look at small things. And so if I can expand that a little bit, then I'll find that. I'll give you one example just to make it clear. Take profession, because that's something all of you can relate to, right? I used to ask my PhD students, first thing I would ask them is, why are you doing a PhD? What do you want to do a PhD? First day. I said, what do you want to do a PhD with me? Why? And they'll say, oh, sir, I want to get this job. My thing is, forget about that, man. What do you want to do 20 years from now? Forget about next 4 or 5 years. What do you want to be 20 years from now or 30 years from now? Have you even thought about that? Because all of us are we're only looking at small things in the near future, right? So if we think a little bit bigger, it's like making that wheel bigger. So even if it just goes 1 or 2 turns, you'll end up that you've covered a lot of distance. So you're very.
Sir, one more question. Mr. Ravindra Rao is asking whether being happy always transmits positive energy. If yes, is it possible to be happy always?
Okay, so in the first place, I'm just sharing my view, okay? So you can take it for whatever it's worth. What works for me is what I'm sharing with you. So for me, I look at three things, okay? One is enjoyment, the other is happiness, and the third one is bliss, right? There are three different things. Enjoyment is my coming in contact through the five senses. You know, I have five senses, right? And we have five objects of perception, what you call Shabda, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Sparsha. So we have five objects of perception, and I've been blessed with five organs that come in contact with these things. For example, let us say I love gulab jamun, right? So somebody gives me a gulab jamun. So I'm eating my gulab jamun. So as long as that jamun is coming in contact with my tongue, I'm enjoying it. That's not happiness. I'm just enjoying it. The moment that contact goes away, that enjoyment is gone, right? This is not very useful. Not that you shouldn't enjoy gulab jamun, but I'm saying it's not useful. It's like I would not walk 10 kilometers to get one gulab jamun. I will not do that because I'm eating for like 1 minute and it's not worth it for me. Happiness is something different. Happiness is when whatever you experience, it leaves something behind. You know, like you read a book or you take a walk or whatever, right? So you come in contact through these five senses and it leaves something behind even when that contact is no longer there. That I call happiness. Is it possible to have that? Well, it depends on what you came in contact with. Right? So the answer is yes. If you always make sure that you come in contact only with good things, yes, you can. But there's a third thing which is probably most important. That's what we call ananda, that is bliss. And the way I'd like to explain that is, like if you look at a signal, right, electrical signal, it has three values. One is what we call the average or the DC value. Another we call RMS, root mean square value. See, the thing is, things are going to go up and down, right? In life, it'll always go up and down. If nothing is going up and down, like if I take a 9-volt battery, what does it put out? Just 9 volts, one straight line. If you look at an oscilloscope, it's just one straight line. It has no meaning. For it to be a signal and have meaning, it has to go up and down. So if my life has to be meaningful, things have to go up and down. Otherwise, there is no meaning, right? So the question is this. When things go down, here's the important part. Pay attention to what I'm going to say now. When it goes down, is it going negative? There's a difference between something going down and going negative, right? Anytime you go below zero value, you feel bad. So something going down is okay, but something going negative is not okay. So that average value where I operate in my life, that average value is what I referred to earlier as yathartha jnana. The more knowledge you have, the higher your average value is. So as things go up and down, you never go negative, right? And that, I believe, is possible. It is possible. That's not happiness. That is what we call ananda. That's what we call bliss. And if you want to know more about this, please go fall at the feet of your Swamiji and ask him to explain that to you. Because that is ananda, that is bliss. And when you have that, all other things are fine, man. It can go up and down, but you'll never be, quote unquote, unhappy.
So Rohit Anand is asking, can the energy be negative or it is just our perception?
No. Energy, excuse me, energy comes in 1,000 different forms, right? Energy is not just one thing. Matter and energy are two sides of the universe. On one side you have matter, the other side you have energy. Just like the Vaividya, as we call it, that is the diversity in matter, right? Similarly, you have diversity in energy also. Just like material science is so intense and complicated, the science of energy is also equally difficult, and it's not that easy to understand. Energy is not just one thing, right? Different types of energy will push you in different directions. And that is why in our sampradaya, we put so much, we put a lot of importance in this, what we call Guru Shishya Sambandha, right? All of you, you're either a Guru or a Shishya, right? I think. That's what I think. So if that is true, that Sambandha is, that connection, that relationship is extremely important, because what the Guru does, he doesn't take you anywhere, okay? But he does what we refer to as Marga Darshana. That is, he shows the way. So that the energy that you build up and all that is the right kind of energy that will push you in the right direction in life, right? You should, with a lot of energy, you shouldn't end up in the wrong place, right? Like suppose you start in Belgavi and you want to go to Mumbai, and you just get on the road and go, keep running, and you end up in Dharwad or something. That maybe that's not where you wanted to go, right? So just moving is not good enough. Moving in the right direction is important. So different energies will push you in different directions. It's very important for us to know how to acquire the right kind of energy that will take us in the right direction.
Professor Rajshekar Alurkar is asking, how to survive in this insensitive world?
If the world is insensitive, there are some people who are sensitive, some people who are insensitive, and that's just the way the world is, right? The world is not going to adapt to you. You have to adapt to the world. And the best way, okay, I'll give you one example, right? Suppose I do something for somebody. It doesn't matter who. It can be anybody. It can be a stranger, or it can be somebody related to me, whatever, right? So I do something. We say that that person is very insensitive if immediately that person doesn't appreciate and says thank you for what you did. So the problem is, and the person may say that or may not say that, that depends on him or her, right? That appreciation may or may not be shown. But if my well-being depends on a certain response, the problem is with me, not with the other party, right? Now, that person may also have problems. That's his problem. He has to fix it. I have nothing to do with this, right? Like if somebody does something for me, if I don't even have the courtesy to say thank you, that's my problem. It's not your problem, right? But I'm only concerned about myself. I'm not concerned about other people. Okay, I said that wrong. I'm concerned about you. But what I mean is that when we look at ourselves, as long as we don't have this expectation over and over again, and every little thing we do, then we are not sensitive. It's not so much the world. I won't be very sensitive. So if I'm not very sensitive, then the chances are I'm not going to get hurt too much. Otherwise, constantly you'll get hurt.
Prithvi Allurkar, she's asking, how can one implement detached attachment?
Yeah. See, the thing is that I hope you don't mind. I'm going to quote a shloka from Bhagavad Gita, right? Shri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita made a statement which actually, unfortunately, has been misinterpreted a lot when he said, Karmanye vadhikarasthama phaleshu kadachana. So, the thing is that the formula he gave us is that, okay, see, sorry, I was just talking to my wife. So the formula that he gave us basically is, Karma meaning, not what you do, but what you think, what you speak, and so on. You have every right to that, right? All of us as human beings, we have a right to think what I want to think, say what I want to say, and do what I want to do, as long as it does not hurt anybody else. If it helps, very good, but at the least it should not hurt anybody. Even speech, even thought, right? Not just act. Even my thought should be good thoughts. So the thing is that if I indulge in those types of good thoughts, good speech, again, the same Krishna said, Satyam Vada, Priyam Vada. Again, I don't want to quote Krishna because you may think that I'm going to religion or something, because I'm not. I'm just talking about general things that applies to all human beings. Is that, I have to speak the truth, but I have to speak it in a soft way. I don't have to be very harsh in what I convey to people. So if I develop that external softness, while internally I'm very hard and strong, that is the easiest way I have found to not get too attached to things, because I'm not expecting them to respond in any given way. It doesn't matter to me, right? I'll give you one more example of that. Many years ago, this long time ago, right? When I was a student, I started out in physics. Actually, I studied BSc honors in physics. That was my first degree, right, in India, and then I switched to engineering. And that system of education did not suit me, because people, those lecturers and all this, they kept telling me, "You're stupid, you're stupid," and to the point where I always thought that I was a very stupid person, right? I actually thought that for quite a while. And then one day I said, "No, I'm not stupid. Why are these people telling me I'm stupid?" So the thing is that up until that time, everything was defined by other people. Your parents tell you something, your teachers, your friends, and and all this expectation, right? And everything is defined by other people. That means that attachment is there to what I'm being fed. So if you can remove that a little bit, and it's a slow process, it's a very slow process. You start with small things, and everything you start in a small way, and then it grows. And as long as you don't expect certain outcome, let the outcome be, it is left to higher powers, right? It's not for us to define or decide what the outcome should be. We do the right things, hoping that we're doing the correct things for good. Let the outcome, leave it to bigger forces, right? Whatever he wants is what will happen. So, which is fine. So if you can develop that attitude, it's all a mental attitude. And if you do that, then you'll automatically find that you won't get too attached to anything.
Sir, last question from Mr. Madhusudan ji. Whether silence is bliss?
So should I maintain silence right now? I'm just joking. So I'm sorry, I make stupid jokes. I don't know if silence is bliss. Bliss for who? Well, if I keep talking nonsense, it's bliss for other people. If I keep my mouth shut. But internally for me, there is no need to constantly put out opinions and all that. Even when, see, you don't react to something immediately, right? You have to let it sink in, and then you can react to that. So in that sense, that what you call silence, which is a gap between something coming in and something going out, I don't know about the bliss part, but that definitely helps me be more productive. But I cannot keep quiet. If I just keep quiet, not say anything, what use it for other people? Like, I can learn all the things I want. If I don't share it with my shishyas, what good is it? Right? So it has to be useful to other people. So which means that we do need to share things, right? But we cannot keep talking constantly random nonsense. We are creating noise in the system. you have to put out signals, not noise, because there's way too much noise already, right? So noise suppression is good. So in that sense, silence is good.
Sir, shall we conclude, sir?
Of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, I request my colleague to present the vote of thanks.
So, good evening, one and all. It's a time to offer vote of thanks. On behalf of management, principal, HOD, and participants, I wholeheartedly thanks Dr. P.R. Mukund, Professor, Department of Electrical Engineering, Rochester Institute of Technology, USA, and also a founder trustee of Tara Prakashana for sharing the information about the topic applying Vedic wisdom for professional success. Thank you, sir, for such an informative session. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mukund. Really appreciate you taking time and engaging with the young India. We look forward to many more sessions across Karnataka and rest of the country. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I take this opportunity to thank Shri Naganauda Jakkangoda, sir, Vice President, Human Resource, Globalized Software Limited, Bangalore, for helping us to organizing this. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I sincerely thanks all the participants for their active participation and patience listening. Thank you one and all. The feedback link will be already I had shared in the chat box. I request all the participants to fill the feedback. Thank you one and all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mukund, see you. Have a good day.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Mukund and Mr. Jakkangoda, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Hello,
you.
sir. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, are you asking me?
Hello.
I can hear you.
Sir, my name is Deepashri and I'm not a student of HISAT. Fortunately, I got the link and registered for this Vedic webinar. I have a wonderful choice to learn something about Vedic science. I am thankful the person who shared the register link. And it's a wonderful time to enhance my Vedic science knowledge, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
ನೀನೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ